I'm Olin. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Sit here, week 12, 8-3. The Bears are already at the win total I had them at. So proving a lot of people, including me, wrong, sitting there in first place in the NFC North, finding a way to win a bunch of football games.
Pretty extraordinary that as you start breaking down the game from yesterday, you also start planning for what's going on Friday. I mean,
Mhm.
what a quick week, what a quick turnaround it is. You look at a team like Philadelphia and you just like, how in the name of God did they lose to Dallas? They were up 21 to
Right.
nothing in that game. And I wonder what that means for the future and for the game and who's in and who's out for the Bears. I just think it's such a quick turnaround. I barely have time to say happy Thanksgiving.
Right. And it's like you're watching the Eagles, they go up big and you think they're going to blow the Cowboys out. And then all of a sudden they lose. And it's like watching that a Rocky movie when Rocky's fighting a Russian in the corner. They're telling Rocky, see, he does bleed. Right. And that's what the Bears are believing, man. If the Cowboys can beat them, we beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Why not us? And that's been their motto all year, it looks like, right? Why not us? Why not us? Why can't we go win without seven starters on defense? Why can't we have Gardner Johnson and DeMarco Jackson making plays on a critical 3rd and 2? I was watching that play, 3rd and 2 there late in the game. DeMarco Jackson one-on-one with Gainwell. He makes a tackle there for a 1-yard loss. He's celebrating with C.J. Gardner Johnson. Omen, I won't even try to say his last name, the linebacker for the Bears, runs over. He's celebrating. I'm thinking, I didn't have that on my bingo card. Those three guys celebrating a play for the Chicago Bears to win a football game there at Soldier Field late in the year to keep them in playoff contention. It has been one hell of a year. And like you're saying now, Mully, quick turnaround to play the world champs, right? A team that just lost a game, obviously. They're without a few players, but so are the Chicago Bears. Who do the Chicago Bears have up this week? Who is playing? Does anybody come back? Really interesting week here for the Chicago Bears as they get ready to go on a national stage and try to prove to everybody they are legit contenders.
The Bears' collection of backups defensively were better than the Steelers' backup at quarterback, and that was
Mhm.
obvious late in the game. And I think, Olin, you mentioned a couple of the names that guys that came through. I wonder, with so many new players and a new DeMarco Jackson wearing the green dot calling defensive signals, and you have secondary kind of guys in and out. If you're Dennis Allen, how did that affect your approach with Mason Rudolph? You have a young, not a young quarterback, he's a veteran backup, but he's a backup that you might be able to confuse, but you don't want to confuse your own players. Did you see a more simplistic approach defensively from Dennis Allen?
He was going in and out, David. I'm sure, as you saw, he was calling simplistic defenses so his team could line up, playing zone coverage, trying to give guys help. But then in critical situations, he'd go to man and Nashawn Wright 1-on-1 with DK Metcalf. Another interception for this guy. What a year he's having. We talked about on the postgame show. He showed up in run defense, right? So did C.J. Gardner Johnson, taking on tackles, fitting runs like he's a linebacker, leaving Nashawn Wright free to make plays. Nashawn Wright even draws a holding call down there. Nick McLeod, I know he had the pass interference before Montez Sweat sack fumble, but still coming up big, making plays. He was, late in the game, they're like 10 yards from field goal range. And I'm wondering, man, I wonder what Dennis Allen's going to do here, right? Because we all know in critical situations, he gets aggressive, right? He starts to bring blitzes. They're playing zone coverage back there, but tight. And Brisker knocks that pass down. I think, they had C.J. Gardner Johnson pressured Mason Rudolph on one play, hit the running back into his lap. He threw a bad pass to his right. And then we all talked about Brisker's tip. But I tell you what, guys, funny thing about that Brisker tip, I watched it again this morning. Nashawn Wright sitting there for another interception. If he doesn't tip that, it's kind of crazy. I mean, he would have had one more pick there, just sitting there at 6 yards. He knows, he understands how many yards the Steelers need to get into field goal range. And he figures out that DK Metcalf's going to sit there on a route, but not for nothing because Brisker levitates. I think that's the word J.J.
Yeah.
Watt used, levitation. He levitated and he tipped the ball. David, to your point, man, Dennis Allen rolling the dice there, man, at some points in that game with seven backups, trusting those guys, coaching them up. Credit to Al Harris, right? Credit to the defensive staff over there at the Chicago Bears with all these backups of the guys. So important we hear about, right? OTAs are important. The media meetings are important. Off season is important. Camp is important. Guys, some of these guys weren't even there, man. On the field, winning a critical game for the Chicago Bears late in the year. Yep. If Aaron Rodgers there, it does make a difference. But guess what, guys? If 7 of the Bears starters are there, that makes a difference also.
What did you see when you looked at Ozzie Trapillo on tape?
Very efficient. Played a very good game, man. I mean, really put himself in positions not to get beat. Again, we go back to backups, right? This isn't the backup left tackle, guys. This is the third string, right? Braxton Jones is the backup left tackle. Again, credit to Ryan Poles would hit that roster that he put together. Coming in there, guys, really contributing, making plays. Ozzie Trapillo took a lot of heat right after can't play left tackle. We're going to move him behind Darnell Wright. We'll move Theo Benedict over there. Braxton Jones. Oh, why did you draft another right tackle? Well, guess who's playing left tackle against Nick Herbig, Highsmith, and TJ Watt? Ozzie Trapillo. And he's doing a nice job out there, putting himself in position to make plays. Very efficient, doing his job, doing the things that need to be done there at left tackle to help Chicago Bears win the football game.
How did you evaluate Caleb Williams, who threw 3 touchdowns? We know the numbers, the passer rating over 100, and yet he looked post-game like a guy who expected more.
Yeah, and I think he does expect more. I think he thinks he expects to be great. And I tell you what, with the arm talent he shows, like on DJ Moore's touchdown pass or the touchdown pass to Colston Loveland down there on 3rd and 5, those are really good footballs, man. Those are what Caleb is capable of, and or making a guy miss late in the game, making a blitz miss that I think the O-line didn't pick up there on 3rd and 6 on their last drive before the Steelers moved the ball down the field, spinning out, running and throwing the ball away, doing little things that you can tell when he throws the ball. I text somebody last night who knows quarterbacks, and I said, how many guys do you think has Caleb Williams' arm talent, right? Arm talent in the NFL. And he said, maybe only Patrick Mahomes, right? That's the kind of talent that Caleb Williams has out there. But like you guys know, the sack fumble, you were worried if that was coming with all the spinning out he was doing. Like him to know where he is on the field, right? Don't take that sack fumble. I think it was at 5 seconds. So Darnell Wright does an okay job there on TJ Watt, right? There's the delay of game late in the game. And then, guys, there's what we talked about. They talked about last week. We didn't talk about. He went up on the podium and talked about the killer instinct, putting games away, right? And the Bears go up 31-21 on the Monungai's run after the Montez Sweat sack fumble where he beats Darnell Washington around the edge there. We want them to put the game away there, and the defense gives up a 17-play drive for a touchdown, and the Chicago Bears offense goes out 3 and out twice. So I'm sure, David, when he's not feeling good, he talked about it last week. We got to put these games away. Don't give the backup quarterback a chance to move them 9 yards away from field goal range. I'm sure those are the things the Chicago Bears, illegal formations, can't get lined up, delay of games, not putting this football team away that didn't have their Hall of Fame quarterback. Your defense gave you the chance there, right? Stopped them once, forced Tomlin to punt with 2 minutes left, gave you the ball back. They want to put the game away. Obviously, Monungai does slip on one of those plays. I thought TJ Watt did a nice job pointing out there was a hole there. The Soldier Field got him. He slipped there, but, there was a drive before that. They don't get the first down. They don't get a first down again. Kept giving the Steelers the ball back. Obviously, the defense, with all their backups, stands up for the Chicago Bears and ends that football game. But if you're asking me why I thought maybe he was frustrated at the podium at the end of the game, I'm thinking those are the reasons.
This segment with Olin Kreutz is sponsored by Plumbers 911. Plumbing emergency, call the plumbing professionals, available 24/7 at 1-833-PLUM-911. I had this wild thought as I was driving in. Maybe
not you.
No, me. Every once in a while they come to me. But I wondered, maybe this quick turnaround is a good thing because Vic Fangio doesn't have enough time to prepare for Ben Johnson. Is there enough time? Listen, these guys are professional coaches. They know what they're looking at before they see it. But with a guy like Vic, how do you prepare for what Ben Johnson calls and what, as you talked about, the arm talent of Caleb?
Vic Fangio versus Ben Johnson should be on pay-per-view, right? We should all be paying for this matchup. This is going to be awesome, man. These are two heavyweights. Ben Johnson, guys, came out in the third quarter. I don't think the Bears threw a pass, but the plays he came out with, the way he set up his offense, he went 12 personnel. He was challenging Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin, the defense corners for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Johnson was so far ahead of them for that third quarter. The adjustments he made in the pass game, the way he wanted to attack the Steelers defense, they're doing a nice job stopping the run. Just the play calling was so fun to watch this morning from a former player's standpoint, watching Ben Johnson outcoach the Pittsburgh Steelers for most of the third and fourth quarter. They're moving his offense up and down the field, calling certain plays, getting the matchups that he wanted. Obviously, we know about Fangio and, Mully, not to rain on your parade, but if you don't think Fangio is ready, you don't know Vic Fangio. That guy is he's like Yoda up there in the booth, right? Calling plays, putting his guys in position. We know that the defensive lineman they traded for the guy from the Miami Dolphins. They got Jalen Carter in the middle. They got got guys, man, all over that defense.
Who's that guy? I don't think we know him here.
Right. It'll be a good fun matchup, right? Ryan Poles obviously had a good day yesterday, right? And he should tip of the cap to him with the guys he drafted and the guys he brought and put that team together, and they found a way to win a football game. And obviously the coach I just mentioned is the guy he hired. But keep it going here. Big matchup. We're all wondering if the Chicago Bears are real. If you go on the national spotlight, you go on the national stage, there's a lot of reasons, right, that people will say this team is a fraud, this team isn't good. For us guys who watch the film, we think they're pretty damn good. We think they got some good football players who make some good plays. And they say, well, you're only beating backup quarterbacks. And you guys talked about Brad Biggs and the tweet he put out and all these things going on. But that's a great thing about the NFL. You get a chance eventually to show if you're real or not. And if you're a Chicago Bears fan, or if you're an analyst like me, or you're a former player, or you're like you guys who do the morning show, how can you not be excited about this matchup after you gained 8 pounds on Thanksgiving Day?
Olin, I had the same kind of reaction to watching Ben Johnson call plays. I thought it was really textbook and very intelligent in the way that he kind of went about it. At the same time, I didn't realize, and I wondered if you did, throughout the course of that game, the Bears called 18 straight passes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
18 straight passes, and you didn't even feel like, wow, this is out of whack. Wow, this is different. I may be in the midst of it, you did, but can you appreciate a game plan when you call 18 straight passes?
And you know me, and it's a great question for a guy like me because I'm watching and thinking, run the damn ball, right? Like get the guys going downhill, but also the respect you have for the play caller, who is the head coach. You know what kind of play caller he is. You know what he's seen things. He came out to a 12 personnel, which for the listeners is 2 tight ends. Most listeners know that nowadays, but he went empty formation. I think you guys know this play. On the first play, he hit Rome Odunze for a pretty big game. Put Herbig and Watt in coverage, right? Because they were playing regular against the Bears regular, which is regular just 2 tight ends or a fullback, and putting the big guys in coverage and attacking them that way. And you saw Nick Herbig from Honolulu, Hawaii, St. Louis High School in Honolulu, Hawaii, just to mention there.
A lot of great players out of there.
Almost like 2 palms up, looking at the defenders like, what the hell do you want me to do? Guard Rome Odunze in the slot, right? But those are the things that Ben Johnson sets up. And like you're talking about, David, I'm like, man, I'd like to see 1 or 2 runs from Monangai and Swift, but the trust in the quarterback coach. And, man, you guys remember after the penalty, he hits Luther Burden for the screen to Swift after another penalty, really just calling plays, matching up, doing a nice job. He did the same thing last week on a 3rd and 13 versus the Minnesota Vikings, where he hit Burden for another screen, right? The wide receiver there screen. So really, really good job. Really good matchup. Really fun to watch. The Bears coach match wits with the other defense coordinator, and like Mully talked about this week, the pay-per-view event, right? There should be on billboards and Vic Fangio versus Ben Johnson this week. Get that film, study it if you're a young coach. 2 really good guys going against each other.
I'm curious about what Dennis Allen did different to open the second half. It was like the Bears weren't going to be able to stop that team, and all of a sudden they started stopping them in the second half of that game.
Yeah, I think they went in and just talked about the things the Steelers are trying to do to beat them, right? Like, look, we call this coverage, but make Mason Rudolph throw that 50-50 ball down the sideline, make it hard on him, right? They try to hit Roman Wilson, another St. Louis high school product in Honolulu, Hawaii. He tried to hit Roman Wilson down the sideline, right, on 50-50 balls. Nashawn Wright, I was worried about DK Metcalf, Mully. You remember I talked about it going into the game, right? Yeah. But Nashawn Wright matched up really well with him. I think they just talked about when inside the the defensive staff just talked about, look, here's what they're doing. Here's what to expect. Here's how we'll play what we're calling it. Because they didn't call a lot of different defenses that they called in the first half, but they played it better. Right. And here's the runs they're trying to attack us with. And it's really interesting to watch the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not a real physical middle run football team. It's on the edges, throw the things out. And early on, they were hurting. The Bears were hurting themselves with missed tackles and getting from sideline to sideline and trying to stop the play. You guys remember DK Metcalf's touchdown, quick swing to the side, really tested the linebacker's ability to run side to side and make tackles. And they weren't doing that earlier, but I just think they went in the locker room and talked about what the Steelers are trying to do, how the Steelers are attacking them, really define for their players. Here's how I want you to play this defense, this coverage, how we want you to line up. Here's what we expect for them out of this personnel. Here's the plays they're running, just breaking it down for the young guys and all the backups they got in there. And they came out there and they executed, man. And it was really fun to watch out there. I talked about how I was going through my roster, and not only on defense, but also on special teams. Like, who is that guy making that play? And really felt like sometimes like a preseason game, trying to figure out who guys out there running around doing things. Austin Booker, right? Dominique Robinson, Deo is out. These guys are rushing the passer. I thought it was a mistake not to suit up Jonathan Ford, but the Bears continue to prove guys like me wrong this year and execute and win football games.
Olin, the perception will be that the Eagles lost to the Cowboys, so they're going to have heightened focus, and they're going to be ticked off, and it's a bad time to play the defending Super Bowl champions. Is that the reality when a team is coming off a loss, that they do have that kind of sharpened approach and edge to them? And should the Bears fear that?
Quite simply, yes. The world champ does. They don't like losing football games there in Philadelphia. And obviously, when you lose a game, everyone, sometimes it resets a team, gets them to focus in, gets you to realize what your real problems are. Like, a lot of times we talk about, we hear from former Bears coaches talking about what they think their problems are, and you're like, yeah, that's not your problems. But Philadelphia Eagles, now they've lost a game to the Dallas Cowboys after going up big, right? And okay, now we got to reset here, guys. We got to get our focus back in, got to worry about the details and walk through, make sure we're paying attention in meetings, the leaders there that that they have. They don't do all that winning because they don't have leaders in their locker room. They don't have good football coaches refocusing them in, getting them into Mully's point, though, they only have a short week. But, the simple answer to your question, David, is yeah, it does refocus an older team that's used to winning. They don't like to lose. They want to get back going on the right track. They know they're going to be on national television. Everyone's been talking about their struggles on offense. Why can't they move the ball? Why aren't the Eagles as good as the Eagles are? By the way, they're still leading the division. By the way, they're still a good football team. But yes, first thought I had, it's funny you bring that up. The first thought I had when they lost that game last night was, damn it.
Right.
I think we all felt that way. It was disbelief. Thank you, Olin.
Thanks,
Great
Olin.
stuff as
Good
always.
stuff.
Appreciate it, guys.